After Summer Stampede, my little podcast bat signal went off, and I knew there was only one thing to satiate the appetite of the EWA universe, and I'm about to give it to him. He's coming alive! Suicide comes alive, takes the pain from all who just can't see the light. Die savior, he can save you. He'll take a nail and be the one they crucify. Suicide comes alive. And what an awful entrance theme that was. That's the, if you haven't heard Suicide's entrance theme, that's pretty shitty. But that's the intro to the podcast, so what can I say? Welcome to Podcast 17. It's the post-Summer Stampedes podcast.
SummerSlam as well.
Summer Slampede, yes. And this is an emergency podcast. We had to get up here and we had to talk about what happened. I'd like to welcome Bryce to the podcast this week. Bryce, welcome.
Hello, it's great to be in the EWA's number 2 podcast.
Yes, well, it depends on who you ask. I think it's Newt's number 1, and it's the longest-running EWA podcast in the history of EWA.
You got me completely wrong. You totally misread me. This is my second appearance in the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely what I meant from that.
Well,
damn it, Craig, you're twisting my words.
You can still catch Brett. I give you, I'll give you another 2 or 3 months to catch him.
Awesome.
But I think we all know why Bryce is here, so I'm just going to go ahead and, Bryce, the floor is yours. It'll be a lot like the Newt podcast. I'm not going to say anything unless I feel the need to interject. So why don't you tell us about this whole process from the nexus of it until the final outcome of what happened at Summer Stampede. Go ahead, bud.
Right, from the top of my head, I'll see what I can remember. So Kurt Angle lost to CM Punk at whatever the pay-per-view was called, Undisputed, was it? Something like that. Mm-hmm. Lost in a Hell in a Cell match to CM Punk. His contract was terminated, so Kurt Angle was over. At this point, I was pretty disappointed that I couldn't do anything with Kurt Angle anymore. I was probably expecting to win that match, if I'm truly honest. So I sent Newt a PM saying, what's up? Why did I lose? Where do I go from here? Blah, blah, blah. Because I was actually thinking of, just completely giving it up for a few months. Because I was so burned out and I was so confident that I was going to win that match. That was I didn't even think of the possibility of, after Kurt Angle. So Newt gave me good reasons why I lost the match. He says Kurt Angle's getting a bit stale. I was like, yeah, he probably is. He's been the same thing for maybe 5 or 6 months. So Newt suggested bringing back Shark Boy, which I did. And as a way to get Kurt Angle back, Newt, I'm giving all the bloody credit in the world to Newt. Newt said that an interesting take on bringing Angle back would be to do him under a mask. And that's basically the start of it. Mm-hmm. Newt suggested I take in Suicide. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll give it a shot in a few months or whatever. I did so, and the rest is history. That's it. That's how everything started.
The rest is history. It seems like there's an awful lot between where the story ended on your take there and what actually happened, though.
You want the whole story?
Pretty much, yeah. The genesis and coming about. How long did you think you were going to have to wait as Suicide to get a shot at CM Punk?
I was expecting, maybe 6 months, 7 months, but like Newt said in the thread for the Bagpipe Report, there was nobody grabbing the title at that point. There was nobody saying, I'm the guy. So I just kind of took my place and says, what, I'll do it now.
And what would have happened if TZ and CM Punk had lost in this road to redemption?
Would have beaten Cody Rhodes.
So you would have went for the title, not for Punk.
I think I would have went for Punk after that. I don't think the title was the main thing. The fact that Punk had the title was, even better than what I expected. But no, I probably would not have gone for the Grand Slam if Punk hadn't won, because my promos were based towards Punk. They weren't based towards Punk and Rhodes.
Right.
So it was all to do with the Angle Punk feud.
Right. But there was the whole... I mean, you didn't just become Suicide, you became Sim.
Yep.
So let's talk about that. I don't want to use this word, but for lack of a better term, deceitful.
In what way?
I feel like you... And it wasn't just me personally. I feel like you may have toyed with the emotions and feelings with some members of the EWA.
How come? Give me an example.
I'm not going to give you an example, but I think that you had some things in the works with Suicide that, kind of made them believe that they were working with someone that was not Bryce.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You've got to convince everybody. Newt said right from the start, no one can know about this. So I did the best I could to, kind of prevent that from happening. But obviously, some people caught on.
Right. And what was your reaction when they started catching on?
The reaction was to kind of fool them more. I want to say before I move on from that, I want to say that I felt really, really bad about how I engaged in conversation with Teasy during the CM Punk Suicide feud. I was kind of addicted to Teasy just to throw him off that it definitely wasn't me. So I've apologised profusely to Teasy for that. I feel like a dick about it. Like I said in the feedback thread for the pay-per-view that I regret being deceitful, as you would say. But that's how it works, and obviously it's ended now, and everyone's like, well, everyone loved it essentially.
But did they?
Well,
did everyone love it?
Well, I can't speak for everyone else, obviously, but in the feedback thread, from what I saw, everyone seemed to enjoy it. Yeah.
I feel like we kind of just gave you a free pass because it was a commitment to the story and the character, but yet you did the exact same thing that we get mad at Ed and, to a certain extent, Steve over. Like, you come in and you try and pretend like you're someone else so we don't think it's you, and then, like, when we find out it's Ed and Steve or whoever, we're like, why didn't you just fucking say it was you the whole time?
Because then the element of surprise would be completely taken away. Because if you knew it was me, obviously it's going to be Kurt Angle under the mask.
How is that obvious?
Because I'm going for CM Punk. And Suicide debuted right after Kurt Angle lost his contract.
So, to ensure the secrecy of this whole story, you engage in PMs and conversations with people as Sim and as Bryce, and you're signing on to your phone, and you're signing, you're posting role plays from your phone, and you're doing this, and you're doing that, all to ensure the secrecy of the story. It just seems like there were a lot of unnecessary steps to go through.
I wouldn't say so, because I think it paid off in the end. What you don't know can't hurt you.
True.
That's the way I think about it.
But then once you find out, it kind of makes you cynical to the whole thing.
How come?
Well, we all wanted to believe it was Kurt Angle, and then you went through such meticulous measures to throw us off and make sure that we didn't think it was Kurt Angle. And then by the time we found out that it was indeed Kurt Angle, it's almost like I can't trust anything anymore. Like we talked at length multiple times about, well, who's Sim? Like, obviously we know Sim, right? Like, we got to know who this is. You think it's a new guy? It's probably a new guy, right? And finally I'm just like, you know what? Like, who cares? Like, I wanted to believe it was someone new, and I was almost disappointed that it wasn't. That it was just...
If I had told you in those conversations that I was Sam, would that have ruined the surprise in any way? Honestly.
What do you mean, ruin the surprise?
The surprise of the reveal of Kurt Angle.
I mean, for me personally, like, no. Like, I think
if I picked up Suicide right after Kurt Angle lost his contract, pretty much went straight for CM Punk, you wouldn't think that was Kurt Angle, and that wouldn't ruin surprise for you if Kurt Angle unmasked at the last pay-per-view.
Obviously, it would be a bit more, not obvious, but easier to guess.
It's easier to guess, yeah. Whereas I, myself and you, put in the effort to throw you all off, and it paid off.
But you let us say such awful things about Sim. You made him a deplorable and hateful person.
Yep.
On purpose.
Because it's not me.
Did you take it personally when people were coming down on Sim?
Not at all, no. Because it's not me. It's a completely different identity. It's something else. It doesn't affect me whatsoever.
You got some personal problems, Bryce.
I know.
You're sending me Snapchats so your pants around your ankles. You're leading this double life and deceiving all of your friends. If I had done something like that, oh my. We just had the conversation yesterday, for fuck's sake. Yesterday. We came up with this whole convoluted storyline of how to get Kurt Angle.
So bad through that.
And you fucking should. You should feel bad. We go through this long process to talk about a story that involves Kurt Angle coming back to take on Cody Rhodes. I'm like, yeah, I'll throw up the members of the entourage as sacrificial lambs to tell this great story. And you're like, oh, this sounds good. Maybe we can go over it next month sometime. Or like, oh, we can watch the Balka game and start laying the groundwork. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then I read that and I'm like, that is so unnecessary to do that.
But
like,
see, if I at that point I thought you were testing me, because before you have said, I know you're Sim, Bryce, and I've tried to throw you off so many fucking times.
No, I never said
my
you were
side
Sim.
for this whole story.
I was the one Sim believer in this whole goddamn fed. I was the one that said, this person doesn't deserve it. This person hasn't bided their time. They're breaking the norm of society here in the EWA. And then I defended him. I said, he's a great writer. He deserves this title shot. The lines are blurred.
Defend anybody.
Huh?
You defended Edge. You would defend anybody.
Yeah, well, that is true. That's not a part of this argument. But the part is, it's like finding out Santa Claus isn't real.
Santa Claus isn't real?
Yeah, exactly. I hope I just broke your fucking heart.
Oh, you did. I hope I broke yours.
It's like Santa Claus beat CM Punk, and then he took his beard off, and you see it's your dad. And you're like, what the fuck? That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
That's happened to everybody at some point.
Fuck you, Dad, for lying to me.
Pivotal time of child experience.
So Bryce is like everyone's father.
Yeah, pretty much. Apart from what we're saying in the Facebook threads, apparently Newt's everyone's dad.
I don't understand why you're saying such bad things about Newt in the Facebook.
That was you son of a bitch. You grassing me into Newt. I don't approve of that.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and let's get back to Sim, Suicide, and Kurt Angle. It's all right. It's all right. I want to talk about the most important story to come out of this, to be honest. And that's what's going to happen to Shark Boy now.
Shark Boy is going to keep going. Ultimate Tom Sharks with the Ultimate Warrior are going to keep role-playing. Because I've pretty much been doing that since Suicide started. I've been role-playing as Shark Boy and Suicide, so there's no reason I can't role-play as Shark Boy and Kurt Angle.
So, you're going to keep going. Let's talk about the other Summer Stampede. I keep on wanting to say Summer Slampede. We need to rename this next year just so we're clear. But anyways, I want to talk about Summer Stampede and the other results. Let's talk about the tag match that Shark Boy was involved in. And the ending that almost none of us could see coming, but yet it was almost like the reveal of Kurt Angle. Like, we totally understood and couldn't believe that we didn't believe at that time. And Steve is now the tag team champs.
Even Don West was shocked,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he really went meta on me there. I was reading that and I was like, wait, did they refer to someone named Steve in the match? And I scrolled up and was looking like I thought I had missed something.
Breaking the fourth wall somewhat.
Yeah, that's what I thought was happening. Yeah, Don West in my living room right now.
I've said it to Steve already. I'm so happy that the guy's finally got his niche back for role playing. I thought through the whole week that Steve's role plays were fantastic. I genuinely thought he was the favourite going into the match, but only after reading his role plays.
Right.
I don't know if you felt that way as well.
Well, it's one of those things too. Like, these were these were Steve's first 3 role plays as these characters, and so, the kind of the EWA cynic in your mind wants to say, well, these are his first 3 role plays. He's got no real momentum. Like, these guys have no history. There's not, a big chance of him, winning this match. But when you start taking things into account, like the undying consistency of Steve, whether or not he wins or loses, and whether or not it is just one role play, even if he asks for one, he gets that one up.
Yep.
And I know that sounds stupid, but there are people that don't get that. Like, there are people that get a 2 role play limit and they still don't get one up.
Yep.
Steve's ultimately consistent. I think that played into his favor as well. I don't think he was given the titles as some sort of lifetime achievement award or anything. I mean, I sure as hell, I sure as hell think that he earned it.
Like
but
the Chris Sabin of TNA.
Right, but I also think Newt knew that he could give him the titles too.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was like, this is someone, and I'm not saying that any group in that match would have flaked out on being tag team champions, but when you look at the parameters of the situation of someone coming in and their first role play is in a match for the titles and they win, it looks weird, but I think Newt knows that he can get consistency and good storytelling out of Steve as the champion.
You can trust Steve, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, kudos to Steve. I think the Bagpipe Report, Facebook, things like that, like Steve used to have this stigma to him. You know what I mean? And people were like, Jesus Christ. Like, they see him arguing with Sarah in the shout box, and they're just like, shut the fuck up, Steve. Just like, shut up. And I remember thinking that before. Like, it's like, Steve, you are a fucking douche. Just shut up.
Steve was the first person to call me out as Sam after my first fucking role play. Because he noticed that I put EWA as in lowercase e, capital W, lowercase a. And he's on the shout box saying, oh, this Sam's an old guy. He can't possibly be new. So then I acted all defensive as Sam and called him a bully and everything. And
yeah. The
rest is history with that one.
Guess it doesn't matter. People were right, and now they can always say they're right. And I look like, for months and months of podcasts now, I look like a jerk up on my high horse talking down about suicide.
Was it really as bad as you said though? I mean, you're totally grilling me on your whole suicide thing. Was it really that bad? Like, are you genuinely offended that I came in and roleplayed as a new guy for 4 months and then just won the title?
No, I mean, I told you before this podcast started, I had to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah, definitely.
I wasn't going to come on and just lavish you with praise and make everyone think that lying and deceiving people is all right.
I wasn't a shot at you. I'm like, genuinely, it's a general question.
But I look at things last year like Crimson, and we always refer to him, but he was the guy who came in and he was here for about 4 weeks, and I know he was here before then, but he really put stuff together for about 4 or 5 weeks and then took on Carino for the Grand Slam title. It's not out of the realm of possibility. We all saw the work Suicide Sim did the week of Lethal Lottery, and we all acknowledged that we thought it was really good, even when we thought it was someone else, even when we thought it was someone that we didn't know. Like, we understood that this person was doing good work. And
did you read the match?
Did I read the match?
Yeah.
No, I did not.
The match was incredibly well written. Newt was constantly making references to other people in EW roster who it could be. Like, Kurt Angle was using the disaster kick. Suicide was using the disaster kick. And, he used an Angle Slam at some point. And even in the matches before Summer Stampede, like, in non-relevant slam matches, Suicide was using some kind of Angle Slam-like maneuver and locking in some kind of ankle lock. The hints were there, and I think Newt played that really fucking well.
And I think it was just one of those things where maybe it made too much sense, and maybe it was we wanted to believe that this new guy would come in and sweep us off of our feet and be like, the Jim to our Pam, and just I guess we're Pam in this instance, the Sean Waltman to our China, and just sweep us off our feet, and just if Corey was here, he'd be playing Careless Whisper right now, or Kyle. I mean, if Kyle was here. But yeah, like we wanted to believe deep down inside. I really liken it to Santa Claus. Like we wanted to believe so bad that Santa Claus was real, and then like when Santa Claus just rips his mask off and it's Kurt Angle, you're like, God damn it!
That's going to work into that storyline somehow. Kurt Angle pretending to be Santa Claus. That's the next carnation of Kurt Angle.
Well, I think, like I said, I played devil's advocate. I'm really not upset But I do want to say this, and I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers. I'm not trying, and I know you've already spoken about it, but this is really how I feel. Like, I genuinely feel bad for TZ.
I feel bad for TZ as well, but you know
when I found out that like he wasn't in on it, I was like, oh, that would like I put myself in that situation, and I was like, that would suck so fucking hard.
Yeah, he was pretty upset about it. You know, I was talking to him on Facebook for the whole fucking day because I felt so bad about it. But I think he did genuinely appreciate the angle. He just didn't appreciate not being let in.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, Newt said that he judged the match from the 6 role plays that were posted, and apparently my rating was better that week.
Right. Does it make you feel any better that you beat TZ as Suicide and not as Kurt Angle? Does that diminish the win, or does it make you feel better at all?
I would much rather have beaten TZ as Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
I think that much is obvious. The guy's beaten me 3 fucking times in a row before. I tried so hard to beat TZ, but the answer to your question is yes. I would much rather have beaten him as Kurt Angle.
Was there an option available where the reveal didn't come right after defeating Punk?
What was that, sorry?
Was there an option of revealing it was Kurt Angle? Was there an option where you weren't going to do that after beating Punk? Where you would continue on as Suicide?
If Punk didn't win, I would definitely continue as Suicide, yeah.
So if Suicide had lost, you would have just kept going?
I wouldn't have just disappeared, no. I would have found something else.
What do you mean? Like, if Suicide had lost, would you have kept going with Suicide?
Yes.
Until you beat Punk, or like how long would you have drawn that out? Do you think?
Until I found out something else. You know, I did have backup plans with Newt, but you know, if any of them fell through, then you know I would continue with Suicide, because if I went away, lost the match, and I just left, people would automatically assume that it was me.
Right. Was there an option where you beat Punk but didn't reveal yourself to be Angle?
Newt brought that up as well. He was thinking about it at 4 o'clock in the morning before the pay-per-view was posted, but I was asleep at that point, so I couldn't reply to his PM.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously it was an option at some point, yeah.
Right. I think that that was the night where we were all on Skype and he tried to jump in there with us. You guys missed that, by the way.
Yeah.
Friday night, like 7 of us, we're all on Skype watching old wrestling. Missed a good time. We went so late in the night that Steve woke up in the morning and got in the call.
I've got the best story to tell about Newt and his part in playing as Suicide. Right, so you know Sam was meant to be in the Back Out Report, and I was saying this to you all month. You know, Sam's going to be a guest, and you're trying to steal Sam as a guest off me, and I'm like,
bullshit.
Yeah.
No, you messaged me. Okay, let the record show. I did not try and steal him. You messaged me. I never said, hey, if you want to skip out on the Bagpipe Report, I just said, if you want to come on, I'll have you, but I know you're going on there. Don't act like I tried to steal him from you.
Okay, fair play. I'll give you that. So Sam was going to come in the podcast. Sam, physically someone representing Sam would have been in the podcast talking with you, Steve, Jazz.
Who would it have been?
Newt.
Newt would have come in as Sam?
Yep. I'll tell you how that's going to work. The night before we recorded the podcast, myself and Newt were on Skype together, testing out some kind of voice warping software. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna send you the clip. We tested it for a while. I'm gonna send you a few clips of what Newt sounded like on this testing. I'm gonna send it over, and is that the only setting you've got, or?
Yeah, well, there's a couple here. I don't know if I can change them while I'm on. Let's see.
Let's find out.
Let's see if you can see.
Get a proper high pitched one.
How about that? See, I can't hear, so I have no clue what it sounds like.
That'll fool them.
This one. This is the baby.
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
For some reason, I think I'm going to be really happy.
This one.
I can't even make that one out. I can't even understand what you're saying. It's that high pitched.
This is supposed to be a robot.
You can put it in the podcast if you want. But we basically sat for like 20 minutes trying to work out a voice for Sim, and in the end, I think we got it pretty good. We nailed it spot on. Like the guy, he didn't sound like Newt at all. So Newt was going to come on the podcast the next night, but at that point he got his days mixed up. I mean, we recorded the podcast on a Wednesday night. Newt thought that he was free the Wednesday night, but was busy the Thursday. Mm-hmm. But obviously he's busy the Wednesday night and not doing anything the Thursday, so that kind of fucked that up. But I'll send you over the clip because it's quite funny.
So you really went the extra mile to preserve this lie.
Yeah, calling it a lie is really harsh.
Well, you agreed with it, so I'm gonna have to assume that you understand what it is.
Well, I do, but I think lie is the harshest word you could. We'll call it a mistruth.
A mistruth.
Yes. The last 5 months have been a complete mistruth.
Aside from the whole thing with Teasy, what were some other points where you just came so close to telling someone, I'm fucking him, okay?
When I messaged Dylan for the kind of mini feud with Blackman, obviously Dylan is probably my best friend in the forum. I've known the guy like 7, 8, maybe even 9 years. I came very close to saying, by the way, it's Bryce, but obviously I didn't.
Right.
And I think Dylan was the first person to actually kind of notice that I was suicide, because Dylan has been reading my role plays for the past whatever years, and he noticed signs of Bryce in the role plays. Like if anyone's going to pick out who suicide is, it'd be him.
Right. I think you look back now and you're like, okay, Suicide shows up, and the next week he asks for a cig, and Newt just makes one for him. And you're like, why would Newt do that? Every time someone comes and does that, Newt's like, you should post a couple of role plays, and then we'll think about it. And he's just fucking tossing them out there to Sim, like, here you go, welcome to the EWA. That's funny that you mentioned that small feud with Blackman, because that right there was the only point during this whole process where I was like, this might be Bryce, because we had the bagpipe report, and then it was the bagpipe report was like Wednesday or Thursday, and then you guys put Suicide and Blackman put something together so fast on Fury to be on the next pay-per-view, and I remember Brett messaged me and was like, could you really see Dylan and anyone else working out a feud that quickly to get something up, if they weren't buddy? And I was like, that's a pretty good point, Brett. It doesn't seem like Dylan just be like, yeah, let's work a 2-day feud and get something on the pay-per-view. So I was like,
actually, there's a story behind that as well. At that point, Suicide had no match for that pay-per-view, and I was going around. I was asking quite a few people if they wanted to have a match, and I'm pretty sure I asked JD's Kevin Steen as well. I'm pretty sure I asked Brett as well. Come to think of it, but eventually the only person that actually wanted to work a match with me was Steve Blackman, Dylan. And we had a whole segment written for Slam, and Dylan forgot to send the segment in, so we had to do it in Fury 2 days before the pay-per-view and make it down to a 1 roleplay limit.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's how that came about.
So
it wasn't just thrown together in a way 2 days before.
Oh no, but I mean of course the way it was presented, that's how it looks.
From what you saw, yeah, definitely.
So that was the only time throughout this whole process where I was like, I really think that might be Bryce. So that was the closest you come to saying to someone, hey, I'm Sim. Was your little feud there with Blackman? No other times?
Yeah. Right. Not really.
I said some really bad things to you about Sim.
Yeah, I know you did.
I did not.
I'm just sitting there clenching my fucking fists, trying to endure it.
I'm gonna fucking punch you. Here's a picture of my pants around my ankles. We're getting there.
That's the best I could do. That's how I express my anger at people. If someone pisses me off, I will send a picture of my pants around my ankles.
Well, Steve knows. That's why Steve tries to piss you off. All I said to you really this last week was, man, Suicide uses the F word a lot in his role plays.
Yeah.
So I guess you had to cuss to show it wasn't you.
Yeah, because I never swear at all. Being Scottish, we don't know what a swear word is.
That's true. I mean, You with Kurt Angle, you always like used to say freaking and stuff.
Yeah,
So.
fucking was pretty much replacing freaking. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was how that went. What about the story that you wound up spinning for the week of Summer Stampede? How did that come about?
That story has been a work in process since I wrote the Suicide application. As soon as Newt came up with the idea for Kurt Angle to be Suicide, I started working on this really, really deep background for the character. And obviously that shows in the original application, it's got in his profile, that this stuff happened. Did you read the roleplays?
Yeah.
Yeah, you read the roleplays. All the stuff in the application's there, like his wife was murdered, his daughter was kidnapped and murdered, all this shit happens. So at the end, I said, let's turn this into a big fucking story. And so that's what came out of it.
You worked for 50 pesos in Mexico.
I had no idea about the exchange rate. Ed brought
obviously, you don't understand the exchange rate, and obviously that pisses Ed off. You worked for like $200. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, but I changed that in the I think the first roleplay to something like 5 million or something, just to make.
I worked for 5 million pesos,
which is about $70. I don't know what it is. But I'm actually going when I move to Glasgow. Right now I'm in the process of getting myself the hell out of where I am right now and starting pretty much a new life in Glasgow. When I settle down in Glasgow, I'm actually considering putting that into an actual story, like an actual novel, like write everything about it, write it in more depth. It's something I've been thinking about doing.
Interesting. I always say, and this is stuff I think about too. I was like, I bet we could write just as a community, just one fucking awesome just Batman story or something, Yeah. Just really do our research and just tell a badass guy rises from the ashes type thing. We all just kind of what if there's just a community story? And I know the stuff the hardcore title and stuff that never took off, and that's kind of a flowing hardcore story. But if we were just if we all put our powers together, I feel we could really tell an amazing story. It's I always think I would always love a bound copy of all the role plays I've written from start to finish and just read how this character developed and progressed,
Yeah. I've wanted to do that myself actually, but yeah, it's good. If there's ever a competition for anything, to write a story for a comic book character or anything, we should go for it.
Oh,
We should all just contribute ideas and then work together on Google Drive or something like that, yeah.
Indeed. All right, so this is probably an easy question to answer because you won. But I do want you to think about the answer. Yeah. If you could have done this differently, would you have?
No. I don't think I would have. Perhaps I might have informed Teasy that I was Sam, because like I said, I feel pretty bad about that. He laid it on thick to me through Facebook. But apart from that, I don't think I'd change anything, because it's exactly what I wanted to do. It's suicide. Came back, came to the WWE, remained mysterious, got his title shot against CM Punk, won the Grand Slam Championship, ended up to be Kurt Angle. That's exactly what me and you were going for.
Right.
So I think as far as it worked out, perfect. I may have pissed off a few people on the way, which I totally regret, and if I have, pissed you off as Sam in the past, I'm truly, truly sorry for that. But aside from pissing people off, I wouldn't change anything.
Right. Well,
would you suggest something to change?
You heard it here. Bryce doesn't mind stepping over all of your hard work and transgression.
Oh, no. Now I'm a heel. Right.
Well, I had to pass it off of me because I've been feeling like a heel this last month with this anti-sentiment. You see what I did there, guys? That's called a pun. Anti-sentiment. Thank you. I pray to God that was you clapping. I pray that was you clapping with your hands, by the way, and not anything else.
Wouldn't you like to know?
We're watching that Miley Cyrus performance from last night.
Oh God, I heard about that. It's not too great.
Oh, don't worry. A picture of her will be in this podcast. Don't worry.
Is it a picture of her? How can I say, buttocks?
Yes, her ass. Yeah. So go ahead. Yes, you're being regretful about anything.
Well, like you said, yeah, I feel like a dick for not bringing that up now. I suppose the whole coming back and getting a title shot immediately is something I feel bad about. But, you know, like what was said, you know, Suicide put himself out there. If you guys put yourself, if anyone listens to this is annoyed at Sim for jumping the queue, you know, put yourself out there for a title shot. You know, make it known that you want to be in that Grand Slam Championship picture. Right. Otherwise, you know, Newt's not gonna notice you because he doesn't know you want to be in that place. So, you know, make your intentions known, like call it a champion. You know, say that you won the Grand Slam Championship, and you know something.
But didn't Dan do the same thing the month before you did? Do you think you were fast tracked because Newt knew who you were?
I don't believe so, because at that point there was a challenger for it. There was Cody Rhodes. Right. Cody Rhodes was the challenger, and Dan has been. I love Dan, but he's been known to be flaky in the past. Whereas Newt knows I would stick with the story no matter what.
Right. Well, now I can't wait to read Slam next week when 27 people come out and call out Kurt Angle that they want a Grand Slam title shot.
A Royal Rumble for the Grand Slam Championship. Great.
Zack Ryder challenges you, Kurt Angle.
Hunico challenges
yeah. Now I have to believe you were Hunico. I mean, fuck.
Well,
what is there left to believe in this world anymore? Just so you could build a stupid feud with the BWO. And get another pay-per-view match. You had 3 matches at Summer Stampede, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yes. Pinnacle. Yeah, I did, yeah.
Well, let's talk about...
For the record, I'm not actually Pinnacle. I was... Bombshell.
What? You know I'm serious when my voice goes up. What?
I wish I could do that in my voice. I've actually got testicles.
Anyways, enough about the past. Let's talk about the future. Going forward, next month, King of the Ring. At Summer Stampede, Val Venus cashed in his title shot. Now, did you see that coming?
I did not see that coming at all. I didn't, well, in a way, I did, kind of, because there's always going to, like I said in the Bad Pet report, you know, there's 3 guys, potentially, who have a title shot in the bag. You know, I assumed that either Venus, Carino, or the King of the Ring winner would step up to take me on. But, you know, I'm absolutely stoked that it's Brett that I'm taking on. I mean, me and Brett were talking on Skype earlier. You know, as you said, he's a great guy, and we're working out a fucking brilliant feud right now. Actually,
he's really not that great, but go ahead.
Well, when you hear him in the podcast, you know, 8 or 9 times, you know, it starts to stop being that great. But nah, we're working together. We came up with a really good feud in about 2 hours straight, 2 hours flat.
Yeah. And
I'm looking forward to kind of showing that to everyone in Slam. So there's something to look forward to, people.
Indeed. The return of Kurt Angle this Sunday night on Slam. How do you, also, real quick, let's throw this out there. How do you feel about pay-per-view results going up on a Sunday night?
What the fuck is that?
It's Sunday here. I mean, sorry, but yeah, it was Sunday here. Yeah, like, kudos to Newt.
I like
he
it.
Really even if he had to write that match, I think it still would have got up Sunday night. He seemed to have everything, all his ducks in a row.
Please,
and the only thing,
please do that more. Yeah.
Well, I know it's difficult, and you know, no one's expecting that from Newt, but I will say it was greatly appreciated, and it was kind of cool to get to read those results. Like I don't think anyone anticipated it, but it was.
It gives you the extra day to prepare for Slam as well.
Indeed. So I think I'll just go ahead and wrap this up. This was a nice little short podcast. Just want to talk about the story coming out of there. Kudos to you. Kudos to all the winners, including Jeff and Corey and the new champion, Steve, Will, and guys of that like. And Sim, yes. Summer Stampede, we kind of went in thinking that this card was, we didn't really know what was going to come out of it, but it wound up being one of the better pay-per-views in the last couple months. But to be honest, that's what we've said about the last couple pay-per-views, too. So EWA really, really in a stride right now. It does, indeed. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say or, throw out there?
I have nothing in particular, just, keep
one
up
more
to role playing everybody.
One more blanket apology, maybe? Maybe just one more I'm sorry to everybody?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. Yeah. I'm looking forward to working with Brett this month. looking to see some good storylines going into the next pay-per-view. Obviously, King of the Ring. Keep up the good work, everyone.
Indeed so. Thank you for listening to this mini podcast. We'll try and get something else worked out for later on this week. I also want to mention that the EWA Facebook group has now gone live. It's a place where we can talk to each other. And to be honest, I kind of want to use it as a means of being able to still communicate to each other. Yes, the PM system works, but let's say that the forum goes down again, and let's pray that never happens. But sure, we have Twitter and stuff, but now we have a place on Facebook to gather and get that information out to one another. So if you need a Facebook invite, be sure to send me a PM, send Bryce a PM, send Steve a PM, anybody, and we'll help you get into that group.
I like how you made that Facebook group private as well. Just in case somebody from your work, finds out that you're recording a podcast and they show it to you in the office and,
Yeah, the last thing
you know what I mean, right?
The last thing I would need is for someone at my work to find out I do something like this, then try and sign up to that group as a Mexican terrorist.
How embarrassing,
Yes, that was,
that's why the group is private. What was your reaction when the guy started playing the podcast to you? What went through your fucking mind?
Well, I didn't know you were going to turn the tables on me, but literally the one thing that went through my mind was, how am I going to get out of this?
This is the transition from the podcast to the Banquet Report.
I mean, I don't know how to explain the feeling, but it was like my heart was lower in my stomach than it's ever been in my life. Like, I've gone through breakups that were better than that feeling, and I was just like, oh my God. I literally thought my life is ruined. Like I'm going to have to find a new job.
That's it. I'm done.
I was like, yeah, like these guys
Change their name,
these guys are going to forever judge me. And so, anyway, it's a funny story about that. Like, when news about the podcast came out, one of my coworkers was in Europe doing a national soccer tour over there. And when he came back, and someone made a podcast joke about me one day, and I was like, guys, come on. I was like, Pat doesn't know. And Pat looks over at me, and he's like, oh, I heard while I was over there. And I just go, oh, God. Like, word traveled to Europe about this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, me, Dylan, Steve, we all told Pat about the podcast.
I knew you would.
We were all there.
I knew you would. It was just a sickening feeling.
Pat is Unico,
Oh!
I don't know if you knew this.
That makes more sense.
It's me, Austin!
It was me all along. I don't know if you saw that picture. I was actually suicide. Craig was suicide.
Suicide Unmasked. It's actually Craig Allen from...
Wearing a hat.
A hat under the mask, somehow.
It was tough to figure out, but yeah. So, well, Bryce, I will say you had us all fooled. We thought we had you, and then you went through meticulous hoops and measures to make sure that we didn't have you, and needless to say, it worked. You duped us all. You made us all cynical of anything like that happening again. I don't think we can ever believe someone new can come in and be a part of this EWA community and universe without us thinking it's someone else. In fact, now I think Pylum might be someone, and now I need to know who Eddie Kingston is, because obviously these are people.
Just to prevent any more controversy, I want to tell everyone I actually do play Shark Boy. There's no one under the Shark Boy mask. That's just Shark Boy.
Let me tell you something. That is like the least controversial thing about you. We all know you're writing those shitty-ass comedy role plays as Shark Boy.
The one I wrote on Saturday night, I felt so bad about. Did you read it? Because I was.
Do you need to apologize to Shirley now?
Yes.
About writing drunk role plays?
Can I get that out before I finish the podcast? Actually.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for doing that to Shirley, because Shirley he was the main guy behind the joint role play, and then Shirley put out this fucking awesome role play, which I read again the next day after on the hangover, and I was like, oh man, and then I pull out this shitey, horribly, probably full of typos role play out of my ass, well drunk, and that I feel bad about it. Sorry, Shirley.
That's all right.
Well,
I'm going to go ahead and forgive you on Shirley's behalf. That's all right.
Shirley seemed to be. Because I got home, I was seeing a wrestling comedy show in Edinburgh, and I had to go.
Did you go watch Ed wrestle? Rimshot. Rimshot.
Nah, Ed can't wrestle. So I saw the wrestling comedy show, and I had to cut the night short because I wanted to come back and write the role play, because even I was so drunk that I was like saying to myself on the way home.
Priorities.
I can't let Shirley down. I can't do this to him.
Priorities, obviously.
And I get home and I open Word and it's like, fuck, what am I going to do now? So
why didn't you write a role play about Shark Boy going to a wrestling comedy show?
I was thinking that. I was talking to TZ online while drunk as well, and he's like, you should do that, Bryce. You should just say exactly what happened to you tonight.
See, that's what people this last week actually have asked me for, like, I don't really know what to write about right now. I'm like, literally write about things that happened to you.
Well,
like,
in that sense, the role play was kind of personal in a sense. It's all about Shark Boy's wife leaving him. That's kind of similar to what happened to me. So I suppose in my drunken state, I put that into my role play.
Yeah, and my
pillow,
Not to go all Ed and talk about myself, but that's what I did with the Vader role play, where I took on Val Venus. Like, I pictured my grandparents' farm that I grew up on in, and I didn't really tell a story that was related to it, but I just kind of pictured their house and how it was shaped and what kind of man my grandpa was. I just totally ripped it from my past.
If you can picture something in your mind, it's so much easier to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a tip for role-playing as well. If you're imagining a scene, what is happening in the background of that scene? What colour is it? What's going on? More description, the better for role-play. So if you can picture it in your mind, you're halfway there.
Indeed. Well, we've tried to cut this podcast off 3 times, so let's go ahead and stick a bullet in it. But anyways...
one more thing. No, I'm joking. Yeah. Go. Yeah.
Okay. I will say this. It's a shame that we're not going to get to see the Suicide character anymore because it really was a well-done character with a great story.
Well, I don't know. You might again in Slam. You never know.
Yeah, that is true. So if you get a chance to, advance on the Suicide story and put it into story form, please, I would love to read that and, get a look at it before you send it out publicly. Once again, kudos again, Bryce. You deserve it. You're a tremendous writer, and you're a staunch member of the EWA universe, and I'm glad that you're the champion, and you get to represent the company and all that other goofy shit that we do on the internet.
That means a lot to me. Cheers, Greg. Appreciate it.
Indeed so. Thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you guys in EWA chat tonight during Raw and some other time down the line. Penis. We almost made it without saying penis.
Oh, wait, hold on. Steve the Dick. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.